Hey there, welcome back friends. In this video we will move forward and we will check couple of more things related to the responses. Now friends, in here if we check, we are receiving some kind of response and we are converting this to a string format and then we are displaying the response. Indeed, converting the response to a string is optional. We can get rid of this, and again we should get a proper output. It won't change. Let me show you the database real quick. So if I show you the database, there are like couple of entries in here, and the current entry, the last entry, has the ID 11 with name, brand name 12. In fact, let me also make this as 11. Let me directly update it in here. This would be good. Let me apply the changes. Alright, so now the last entry has the ID 11, name as brand name 11. Alright, so in here, let me add a new entry as 12, new brand 12, and here is the response. Now friends, what is a response? Response is a entity, and if we check, there are like numerous things which are available to us, and this is something which I have already discussed to you. For example, if we want to check the status of the response, we can. If we want to check the headers, we can do that. So there are like multiple things. We can check the status of the entry and things like that. Now this response contains like a numerous data, header and a body, but if we only want body, then we can read the information. Again, that is something which we have seen. Now initially what we have seen, that we can read the entity and we can give the class type as string dot class, and then in this case we will get the output in the form of a string. Let me run this application. This is a simple Java application, and the application where we have our API, the HATOS API, is already deployed on the web server, so we need not to worry about it. And here is the output. We definitely getting a proper output. A new brand has been added in the database. Let me refresh. Here is the new entry, which is school, right? So this is good. But for example, we would like to convert the information in the form of object. For example, we wish to create a new Pojo by the name of brand, where we will have two variable, brand ID and name. Then how we will handle this? How can we convert a JSON into a proper Pojo object is something which we will see now. Alright, so in here, for example, we are posting the data and we are getting the response back. This is cool. And we will get response for get, post, put, delete. We will get some response. But in here, in order to simplify things, we will get information and not post information. So it will simplify things a little. And in here, we can either get the response or we can directly like push this particular string in here, and we can like read the information in the format of a string. So even that is possible. So it would be like string response, and we can directly print the response. Again, in this case, what will happen is we will get a list, an entire list of brands which are available to us. Let me show you. So in here we have brand ID 3, 6, 9, 7, 10, 11 and 12. So we are getting a array of responses, which is nice. Now friends, what is the URL which we are using? The URL is base brand URL. The URL is this particular URL. So if we hit this URL, let me show you in our Postman API. So if I show you this, then definitely we will get an entire list. Oops, we have posted. We need to get the information. Now we again have yet another entry in here. So in here we have a list. But for example, we would like to get a specific entry. For example, the entry with ID 6. Then we can do what? We can add a /6 and then again we can get the information, and we will get information in a proper format where we will also have the link. This is definitely HATOS concept. Now this is cool, this is nice that we have information and we have object inside object. So there are like differences. We have object inside object here, whereas we have a list of brands here, right? So there are like differences. All right, now moving forward, let me show you. In here, let me expand this. For example, we wish to get object of brand directly. Can we do that? Instead of a string, can we get a object of brand directly? Definitely we can do it, but in that case our model should represent things properly. So in here, let me show you quickly. When it comes to brand, there are two entities, brand ID and brand name. And in our last video, we have created a new model. Let me show you, by the name of brand. And in here, we only have brand name, right? So this is there. Now, for example, we change things a little. In here, we also add a int entity with the name as brand ID. And let us also mark these as a private entity. That would be a better thing. So it would be like private int brand ID, private string brand name. Now friends, there is this catch. We have added this particular brand ID. We can add a new constructor as well. So I can navigate to source and generate a constructor using field. And this time we have yet another constructor which will initialize both of these values, brand ID and brand name. But if you guys remember, in here, let me show you. This is the last. Let me close all of these. This is the last program which we have created. Let me show you. This is the last program where we were posting the data. In here, when we were posting the data, in that case, we were using only the brand name. The ID was a auto-generated thing. Now, if we make changes in the model, will it affect the overall working of posting? That is a question. So in here, remember, this is the last program where we are posting the data. So in our last program, if we again add some new changes, if we do add a int entity, will it affect the overall mechanism, is something which we need to check first. So in here, if I type in int brand ID, and in here, let me add in a new constructor. So in here, we will navigate and generate getters and setters for this as well. And we will also add a constructor. Let me cut this and add the constructor before the getters and setters. Let me expand this. This could be a little confusing. Alright, so what we have two constructors. One constructor will only initialize the brand name. There is yet another constructor which will initialize brand ID and brand name, right? And in order to work with this kind of scenario where brand ID is a auto-generated value and we need a constructor which will only add the brand name, in these kind of scenario, we will require two constructors. So take a note of it. And for example, in here, I add in a new value with the name of new brand 14 and run this application. Take a note of it that in here we are posting the data. In this case, we are getting a output. Let me show you. We are getting a proper output. And if I show you the database, we are getting the value added in the database. So definitely a model is possible where we have multiple constructor and our application should work. And now let's navigate to our new application which we are building. Definitely this is a little confusing thing, and if this confuses you, definitely revisit this video. Now what is the agenda? In here we want the output whenever we are for example receiving the information using the get call. We want the output in the form of brand. right? So as the brand will have ID and name, we have two variables in here, ID as well as name, and we have two constructors in here, and we will also add getters and setters for brand ID. Let me also do that. All right, if possible, revisit this video once again. So in here, what we need the output, we need the response from the database directly converted in the form of objects of our brand. So in here we can do what? In here we can type in brand dot class. All right, so now what happens is our request will try to convert the information, it will cast the information in the form of brand object. So it would be like brand response, and we can directly print the information on the console. Let me do one small little thing. Let me also implement the toString method directly in here, so that the output is a little bit more readable. All right, now friends, take a note of this app. There is no issue, there is no complaints. We can get a output in the form of brand object. Let me run this application and let me show you what will go wrong. This will say can't deserialize JSON array into class object. What is the reason behind it? Now take a note of this output again. What is this? This is nothing but a array. There are like multiple objects, right? As a result, we can't receive all of these information, these multiple values into a single object. In that case, we need to make use of a array of object. How we can do that? Definitely that is possible. We will make use of the brackets, right? This will symbolize jersey, that indeed we will get a array of object, and in order to receive the information inside a array, definitely we need to create a array again, right? And our work is done. Now can we display the array directly on the console? Let us check. Let us check by getting the information. Again, there would be a crash. Can't create instance of class, no default constructor. All right, default constructor is definitely very important. In order to create these objects, we must have a default constructor again. So in here it would be like public brand. All right, that's it. Now friends, this particular default constructor will be called by Jersey automatically, and we need not to worry about the usage of the default constructor. All right, let me run this again. Here we go. Now friends, even though we have the toString method, the output is little cumbersome. Why? Because our system.out.println, this statement is not capable of displaying an array of objects. What is the solution? We need to iterate over this particular response. So it would be like for brand colon response, and inside our loop we will display the information. So it would be like sys out, and we will display the value which is there inside this temporary variable brand. And now this time way around, we should get a proper output. Here we go. Here is the proper output. All right, so this is nice. Definitely this is a kind of little complicated how we can convert the information, how we can convert the array. I urge you guys to revisit this lecture. I urge you guys to definitely practice more and try to handle things in a more sophisticated manner, how we can handle arrays. Now friends, for example, I delete in here, for example, I delete multiple records from our database table, and there is only one response. Will our application work properly? Let me refresh. There is only one response. our application will properly work or not. Let me run this application, and indeed it will run. So this application is perfectly valid, which will work with a single response or an array of response, and this will work properly. Alright, in our next video we will dig more into creating a object out of response thing, and we will try to understand how we can handle a specific record where we have a object inside some other object. So that would be again a interesting thing. Alright, so this is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care.